I'm very proud to be here today. It's a quite new adventure for Safran to be here at the micromobility stage because we began just 1 year ago to move on low carbon mobility for our employees. So we are here to testimony what we've done and what the success is today in our company.
And just to make sure, for those of you who don't know, Safran is a large group of companies in France. Defense,
aerospace, yes.
We're talking about all in group, how many? 40,000?
Yes, more than that, I think. And I'm part of one of this entity of the Safran Group, which is called Safran NACELLES. And Safran NACELLES is worldwide 3,000, yes, about more than 3,000 employees.
But all in all, more than 40,000. So you can already get the grip of the power that is in the room now. Okay, thank you, OPHÉLIE, for being with us. We'll come back in detail what you have done so far and what is ahead of you. But back to you, Courtney. Mic is running.
Okay, testing.
Great job, team.
There we go. Courtney Barrett, Director of Workplace Mobility for Walmart. And I believe the question was, why do I think that I'm here?
Yeah, exactly. Let's put it that way.
My trip to the Netherlands originated by the desire of a major employer, a city, and a state government looking to increase active mobility. And together, we collectively decided to do a study tour in the Netherlands across many cities to look at best practices, to look at the original story of 1970 to today and how you made a change, what could have seemed as though it was impossible, but it was quite possible, and you guys did it. So we're looking to you as the all-stars of this story and to bring back those learnings to the USA, specifically Arkansas, Bentonville, and Walmart, and increase transportation in new and innovative ways such as the bicycle.
Wow. Bentonville is headquarters of Walmart, if I recall correctly.
That's correct.
How many employees are we talking about?
So in Bentonville, the headquarters is really around 15,000 associates, but you have many, many stores that have associates as well.
Yeah, okay. Good. Well, thank you. We'll come back to what you're up to at Walmart pretty soon. Olivier.
Yeah. Hello, I'm Olivier Issali. I'm here today to share what we do every day at work is working with employers who believe that a mobility benefit can change the day-to-day of their employees positively. And that's what we do as Zenride. We help them to set up a bike leasing benefit for the employee with a client like Safran. I'm very glad to share this panel with OPHÉLIE.
Yeah, so basically you are the one bringing the tools to companies and employers for their employees.
Yes.
We'll dive deep. How far have you been? What struggles you're facing, and how much headspace you feel in the coming years? HENK, Mr. President. Why do you think that you, as a president of the European Cyclist Federation?
Oh, because I was elected by our members.
Yes, and why do you think that I've been courageous enough to invite you to this panel?
Well, I think that, of course, cycling is micromobility. Not all micromobility is cycling, but all cycling is micromobility.
Well put.
Let's put it that way. And we were talking about this forum. We actually, at the European Cyclist Federation, which is the European umbrella of the National Cyclist Federation, and cyclist means not people racing in the Tour de France, it means people using a bike. In Dutch, we have two words for this, but in English, unfortunately, only one.
Yeah.
So it's everyday cycling and leisure cycling that we cover. Many of the unnecessary car trips are actually commutes. People who go to work, many of those trips are shorter than 10, 7, 5 kilometers and can easily be replaced by bike trips. And that's not only good for the climate and for livable cities and health and environment, but it is also good business for the employers. And that's why we run the European Bicycle-Friendly Employer Certification Scheme. Thank you.
Oh, well, yeah, exactly. So now you understand why this set up. Just to add on to the introduction, like you, Courtney, at Walmart, you set a target to get 10% of your workforce and associates at the headquarters in Bentonville on bikes, scooters, carpools, whatever that would be outside of the private cars. In Safran, France, you launched an e-bike program with Zenride,
Yes.
and that's only the start
Yes.
of what you have in the pipeline. Zenride, you're up and running with large employees in France, especially currently still in France only.
Still in France.
And that's just to make clear, these are companies like Safran, Saint-Gobain, Veolia, with up tens of thousands of associates.
Yeah.
So again, the change-making power can be huge. It always starts small. Even these elephants are born small, but it can grow enormously. And ECF, of course, as you said, Henk, you're promoting more cycling on all levels. But at the same time, let's put it that way, I know the word is sometimes not as popular, as important it really is, but you are really lobbying and fighting for more cycling, for more understanding why that is a good job for everyone on the pan-European level as the one and only organization. And I think that sets the market for everyone here in the audience as well, because these are folks interested in micromobility. So you are basically creating the market and growing the market for them.
That's what we try to do, yeah.
Yeah, just to make sure where the value for both sides is. No? Well, but let's dive deep into what is really happening in your teams and in your projects. And if I might ask, Ophélie, you said, Safran, you only started basically yesterday.
Yes, quite.
Yeah, the day before, let's say. Can you take us a little bit through why have you started? What was the starting point? Why to do something different if until last year everyone commuting by car, it was absolutely okay? What changed?
Yes. What changed is the engagement of Safran for decarbonizing his activity. And I think that the mindset of our CEO were ready, and also our employees were ready. We asked people if they would be interested in bike leasing, and the enormous success went from this question, and we do not have any reason to hesitate anymore. And we deploy the solution. And today, 4 months after the beginning, we have more than about 200 people, employees, which have made the choice of cycling. That was amazing. Yes.
Congratulations. I mean, the first, as they say, the first 10 are the most difficult ones. You're already on 200.
We had the chance to have the top management already engaged in this way. And this is the first step to ensure in your company, they have to be convinced of the benefits of the things. And it was the case for Safran, and we are very happy of that.
So as you said, it started with the aim to decarbonize the operations and the functioning of the whole company.
Yes.
Did the health, did the productivity, did the well-being of employees, when did it enter the charts, so to say?
Very soon also. That was one of the benefits which has been proven, and we have communicated to other CEO to make this choice. But the first clue, the first engagement for Safran is to decarbonize his activities. Yeah.
Okay, good. And then, of course, Olivier, with Zenride, you entered the stage because you are basically the solution provider to the needs of companies like Safran and others. How does that work practically? Can you take the audience through how does that work when Ophélie at Safran is in the need? Hey, we need, but we can't do it on our own. That's a clear one of the other messages. They can't do it on their own. I believe neither you.
Basically, we try, one of our goals is that our client, like OPHÉLIE, has less work to do as possible. We try to put everything on ourselves. Once the service like Zenride is deployed at the company, Any employee can choose its own bike in a dealer network. We have 700 bike shop partners in France, and so they can choose any bike they want up to a certain cap at their local store, and then everything is managed through electronic signature for confirmation and a leasing contract. So the employer, like OPHÉLIE, you don't have to choose which bike to order bike. Right? Really, the employee is autonomous on this. He can go on the weekend to his bike shop, he chooses any bike, and he gets outside of the shop without using his credit card. It's really great user experience for the employee, and it has a strong, I think, impact on the employer brand. That's usually the both return on investment, the two return on investment we hear from clients, decarbonizing, as you mentioned, and also improving the employer brand for hiring, for retaining talent, for productivity, because there are less
Sick days?
Sorry?
Sick days?
Yes, exactly. Thanks. So yeah, basically what the employer has to do is just signing a contract each time an employee has chosen a bike. It takes, I don't know, less than a minute, and we take care of everything else. You don't have to manage the bike. You don't have to service or maintain the bike. It's our dealer network that do that. We want the service to be hassle-free.
Okay.
For the employer, it's really important. That's one of our engagements, that you won't have to put a hand on a bike. Just sign a contract once.
Okay. How many bikes have you already not delivered, but taking care of, basically, for your customers, for companies like Safran, Veolia, and others? How big is the virtual fleet?
Yeah. So for instance, Safran is we have 200 bikes, so it's about 9% of the employees so far who have chosen a bike. We have a bit more than 3,000 bikes in our fleet in France, everywhere in France. That's something very important for us. That was one of the topic we discussed. A lot of the mobility transition happens in Paris, and we all have this image of the transformation of Paris. But what we live every day at Zenride is the transformation outside Paris. What happens in second, third, fourth tier cities where the demand is very strong, because there are no public transport, or very few public transport, because the car dependency is very strong, and it implies purchase power issues for the last year for employees. And that's where for me, that's where the revolution happens currently in France, because it's not the usual cliché of cycling in Paris. It's really what happens in Florence, for instance, at Safran or in Pont-de-Mer, or these kind of cities.
Well, thank you, Olivier. Courtney, you mentioned already your plans, what you have for Bentonville 10%, much wider range of services you would like to offer to your associates. It's not only about bikes, it's carpooling and stuff like that. Where did that start? Why?
Roman, I think it's because we should be doing this type of work. Walmart's very interested, as well as the city and the government, what's good for the individual, what's good for the community, and what's good for the world at large. And mobility is one of those that maybe crosses all of those. So when Walmart decided to build a new campus, the first time in the last 60 years, they selected 350 acres in the heart of Bentonville, our town, and came up with a regenerative vision that was influenced with the design, with the leadership, with the operations. And part of that vision was around the healthy lifestyles for associates and how important that was. Mobility plays a part, as does food, as does environment, many aspects of that. But how we start and finish our day can really add to the enjoyment of that work-life balance, of the journey to the office. So it really started with a vision from leadership to focus on regenerative behavior and influences. And then that has trickled down into the design of the new campus, our whole health and fitness center. It's over 350,000 square feet. The first ever on-site childcare serving over 500 children for associates, many food, healthy options, and then just the design of the campus. I encourage you to check out, if you Google Walmart new campus, you'll see the layout of the campus, and you'll begin to see our Razorback Greenway, which is a paved pedestrian trail that goes all the way through campus, spanning the 350 acres, connecting North Bentonville and South Bentonville, but which you could actually take for 40 miles if you lived in the northernmost part of where our workers are, all the way to the southernmost part. You could easily choose to ride a bike or a scooter, of course, a shuttle or carpool program as well. We are built for transportation via automobile, but we're trying to turn that paradigm a little bit to encourage the healthy benefits of connecting to nature, slowing your day, moving your body, burning a calorie, how that might also play into your workday.
Oh, well, it's interesting, especially in the US context where the car dependency is even much higher than definitely than in Amsterdam, definitely across Europe as well. So if I may keep on talking with you, what kind of challenges probably inside the company are you facing?
All.
Take us through, please. What does that mean?
I think in the mobility sector, we will all agree that changing human behavior is quite possibly the hardest.
You mean like no one wants to change, but everyone wants to change?
We're all comfortable with what we do every day, right? I have a very nice automobile, and I really enjoy driving it.
Okay.
So I'll know we will have made change when I wake up and choose myself to not get in my comfortable electric SUV, listen to my podcast, eat my snack, park, when I decide, oh, I'd rather ride a bike today. Now, I do that sometimes, but I think that's one of the biggest challenges is in an environment like Bentonville, where we don't necessarily need to ride our bikes to get to work. How do we incentivize change? How do we make it easy? How do we not have the burden of, what if I have a flat? What if my chain falls off? What if it rains on the day? So looking at those barriers, one, leading with leadership. So we have a lot of efforts to encourage leadership to ride and show that they're riding.
Yeah, they have to
That's
be
important.
seen with that. Yeah.
Second, we're trying to break down the barriers to access to mobility options. So we just launched the first ever Walmart Move Hub. It's an internal bike shop and education center just for associates. And we address all the barriers. What to wear. Believe it or not, in the US, we think we need to maybe wear different clothes if we're going to bicycle.
Yeah.
But on an e-bike, it's a game changer because you don't necessarily sweat. And we're just talking about a few miles of a commute, but this is a new concept. Access to bikes. We need to make it easy and accessible. So the priority should be in front of your front door is priority parking. That's a design for the new campus. If you've parked in a car, you'll be walking 5 minutes to your office. If you've ridden a bike, you're 20 seconds away from the front door. And then one of the other options we're currently working on is incentivizing behavior. So how could we encourage engagements through incentives?
So when was the last time one of your leadership was seen or will be seen on an e-bike?
Very frequently,
Okay.
because they get an email or a call from Courtney to say, join me, and then I snap a picture and post it.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome. Henk, do you see this kind of behavior? We have two amazing examples from an honorable employer. Do you see it wider spread across Europe or spreading?
It is spreading. In this country, in the Netherlands, the Ministry of Infrastructure appointed 15 leading figures.
Wait, government deployed.
Wait. Government talked to companies,
Yeah.
and companies were stepping up and positioning high-profile bike ambassadors, leading figures inside those corporations who give the example. But I maybe a small anecdote about a very specific example. Everybody knows the company ASML. They make the machines that print the microchips. They are adding 20,000 jobs in the coming 6 or 7 years. Their production facility is in a small town without a railway station. And were no housing for this 20,000 people. So they will need to live in other towns all around, and they will need to come to work. They cannot work remote. They are a production facility. They must come to work. There's no railway station. The roads don't have capacity for another 20,000 commuters. So they really were, not only by choice, but by force, they need to start cycling to work. So it starts with hardware, buying bikes, installing bike parking, bike repair shop, showers. But then these 20,000 people, they come from all over the world. They are not used to cycling to work. They need training. They started doing events, festivals, gamification, cycling for charity. They have even an in-house cycling magazine in the company to try to change the culture. And as again, they're forced to do that, but then they took it one level further. Because when all these people start cycling, there is no space for them on the cycling path. So together with the municipality, the company actually financed the construction of a safe, uninterrupted cycle route from Eindhoven Central Station, which is a big station, big hub, to the production facility in Veldhoven, 10 kilometers away, with an extra tunnel, an extra bridge to avoid traffic lights. And where there are traffic lights, to tune the traffic lights. So at a certain average speed, you can just
Green light.
relax and go on. But the important thing here, of course, is the cooperation between the company and the public authorities, because they are using public land for the commute. And that seems to be working very, very well. We'll see it, of course. It runs to 2030. They'll have, perhaps of the 20,000 new people coming in, at least 10,000 must be cycling to work from the station. And then, of course, there's the railway company who needs to make parking space at the station for the bikes, etc. So you need to integrate.
That sounds like a case study to be copied.
It's really a case study, and maybe next year somebody from the company can be sitting here and telling about it.
That's a good idea. Definitely the topic is not going away.
Oh, no.
Having honorable employers, companies, being one of the driving forces of this mobility change, that's for sure, that's for sure. Is there anything that on your journey, internal company journey, has been the biggest struggle for you that you had to face? Either getting someone on board, getting resources to make it happen, growing faster than you wish. What kind of hurdles are you facing still these days?
If I may go first.
Yeah, please go. Yeah.
About a decade ago, there was a significant investment in Bentonville becoming recreational riding. We have over 500 miles of recreational mountain bike trails, and that was a great case of build it and they will come. And we've seen enormous amount of investment in the city by visitors to come enjoy the mountain bike trails. Now the shift is moving to active transportation. Major barriers exist inside the company and in the community for that mental shift. Yes, we own mountain bikes and we know how to ride the trails. How in the world do we commute across the city?
Yeah.
What is the education? What are the rules of the road? Where are bikes as transportation supposed to be and not supposed to be? One of the big takeaways from my study tour here is the intentional design elements to reduce speeds from cars.
Yeah.
I loved in Dwelft, say that right?
Yeah.
I saw the car as guest sign. Also learned about bike mayors.
Yep.
Lots of takeaways like that to help get the word out that you need to slow the speeds. There needs to be advocacy at the top. So there's a lot of barriers that exist with education, basic education on how to use a micromobility device as a way of transportation.
That means, if I might translate it even for our audience, that micromobility can be of a help not only on the hardware side, not only on the service side, but on the education side as well, because probably the challenges you're facing are not tailor-made to Walmart situation only. And of course, maybe Henk, we should think about how to translate pizza and wielrenner, so two different words in Dutch for daily cyclist and a sporty cyclist to other languages, because that helps. The language helps in the understanding what you're facing. MTB, you don't need to spend a word anymore around Bentable, but saying, "Oh, hop on a bike, get on the job," that will take some time. Yeah. How about you, Ophélie?
So by Safran, the CEO were convinced with it was certain of the success, and we have some there was a risk in the head of some of the lower management today. We are going to have hundreds bike. How are we going to handle it? And yes, we have set up steering communities in each of our sites. In France, we have five sites in France, and we try to make the change happen in the mindset of the people. Some, for example, the site manager, the human resources manager, and the safety manager also. We put these people together around the table and talk about how are we going to deploy this wonderful solution that our employees want. And that was an exciting adventure, and it was actually really fun to do. Being together as an aerospace employer talking about bike around the table, that was really exciting and wonderful adventure. So yes, and the success is here. I've signed up every day new contracts, and more and more people are going. And the second step after that is to increase the capacity of bike facilities as bike station, lockers, showers, and so on, and so we can help as employer to be exemplary, to help our employee coming by bike, commuting by bike every day.
That's cool. Well, Henk, I saw you nodding when Ophélie mentioned the facilities. I know that one of the many efforts that you spend a lot of time explaining was a legislation that is coming in Europe, which are the new buildings
Yeah,
and refurbished buildings with the requirement of compulsory bike
for a
parking.
long time,
Can you tell us more,
not
please?
least in the US, you have had parking norms for construction that every building for every housing unit, 2.5 parking spaces for offices, 1.2 per employee. How can an employee use more than 1.2? I wouldn't know. Anyhow, we are now in Europe working for introduction of obligatory space for bike parking and e-bike charging at workplaces, newly built or refurbished workplaces. But what was maybe more important, if you don't mind, Roman, is legislation in another sense. In Belgium, earlier this year, by law, they introduced that everyone who cycles to work gets 27 cents per kilometer with a maximum of 20 kilometer one way. That's substantial money, actually. And the employer needs to pay it to the employee. But the people who commute by car already got this for decades.
Exactly.
And now finally, for cycling, you get the same remuneration. And that's, of course, another thing that needs to change. Most countries still have a lot of tax advantages for company cars.
Let's call it that way. These are subsidies. We just don't call
These
it that
are
way.
subsidies, indeed. And we can use carrots, indeed, pay people to cycle to work, but we also need sticks to discourage people from taking the car to work.
Yeah.
And there's an interest for the employers because people who cycle to work, they have fewer sick days, they have less stress, they are more productive. You know, they arrive at work with a smile on their face, they have had the wind in their hair, whereas the people who have been in traffic, they don't arrive with a smile on their face.
That's
Maybe
true.
in rural Arkansas, but not here.
Well, that's true. I mean, it only shows how important and how valuable the lever of going through companies for the mobility change can be. The topic, as we all sense, we could go through for another half an hour, 1 hour. But if I may ask all four of you a final question, what keeps you up at night working on the topic that we're discussing today? What keeps you up at night? I hope in the positive way. Courtney, you want to start?
Yes, but when you said that, I immediately think of a negative.
No, so okay, how would we reframe that? So where do you see the headspace?
The opportunity to
Okay,
increase
thanks.
safety
Okay.
keeps me up at night.
Oh, really?
Because we are encouraging lots of associates and influencing behavior across the city. As an example for the state, and what Walmart does, the USA, if not the world, is watching. So as we promote and encourage this type of micromobility behavior, we must bring alongside good partners to help us with education, with access, with inciting behavior. We have to show and tell the story. We want to repeat what the Netherlands has done, maybe even better, if I might.
Yeah, of course, because then no need to repeat what has been done 50 years ago.
Yeah.
The world has moved.
But safety is key.
Okay, good. Well, fingers crossed. OPHÉLIE?
I have a positive way to be up at night.
Yeah.
I'm so proud to be in this company, Safran, which uses its power to make the employee change. I have no bike, and now I can hire a bike with less money and use it for my commuting from and to work, but also for my own life. That's such a big change, and the company can do that. And I'm so happy to be in a company which has made the choice to do that. That's wonderful.
Wonderful. That's cool. HENK?
Well, nothing keeps... I sleep like a baby. A snoring baby, my wife would say. So nothing keeps me awake at night. But 1.4 million people die in traffic every year. 1.4 million people. So in 3 years, that's about as much as the pandemic. And this happens year on year on year, and there is no improvement. Many of those are pedestrians, cyclists, or other so-called, I don't like the term, vulnerable road users, users of micromobility, including pedestrians. And why don't we talk about it in the way that we talk about other public health threats, like a pandemic, like, well, in gun violence, opioid epidemic, but somehow we don't talk that much about traffic as a killer.
As a killer, as an epidemic, yeah. And that there is a solution to it, which this panel represents as well. Yeah.
Part of it, at least.
Yeah. Thank you, HENK. Olivier, how about for you? Where it goes? Where is the future? Where are you driving towards?
I see the future very bright. It's still the beginning. In France, we have only 3% of biking across all commuting. 3%. It's quite more. And I believe we have to combine promoting the usage, like they did in Belgium, for instance, investing in infrastructure. We saw the map, Raymond's from Pone showed the map of cycling lanes in Europe. You see it's quite empty in France compared to Netherlands, for instance, or even Germany. And I believe if we combine both investments, we will increase the bike share significantly. So every day we work at Zenride to promote the usage, to make the bike experience accessible through financial leasing, which it costs only €1 per day for the employee. So it's really accessible. What keeps me sometimes up at night is wondering, how can we also invest more in the infrastructure? How it will evolve, because we need both. We need both. The usage legitimates the investment in infrastructure, and once you invest in infrastructure, it creates the usage. So both works together. And in France we need to activate both at the same time, and not easy every day.
Yeah, but if I may as well, what makes me really optimistic is actually today's panel is only a representation of it, and that's a cooperation of different stakeholders.
Yeah.
This is an intertwined network, intertwined. And I believe most of you here in the audience or at the conference as well, we are all part of an ecosystem that we can provide a value and a help to someone else within the ecosystem. And this is what Zenride is doing for Safran. Safran is doing for their employees and for the community, or what you are up to in Arkansas as well, in Bentonville, creating a completely new way of living and working. And Henk, you trying to make it the story clear to everyone who then sets the boundaries, legislation and stuff like this. This cooperation makes me positive. So I would like to thank all of you, not only for coming over here, but what you're doing, what you have in your pipelines, fingers crossed. And I don't know about you, but I'll be curious to hear more in 1 year where you've moved. In the meantime, best of luck and round of applause, please.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.